without further ado, I want to bring in my special guest this evening, Laura Eisenhower. Welcome to the show.
Hey there, it's great to be here.
Laura, how are you?
I'm good. It's so wonderful to hear your voice.
Oh, it is so great to hear from you. And you know, the last time we did a show, which was only a few months ago, it wasn't too long ago, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, it was. And now we're on the FM dial. Can you believe this, Laura?
Yeah, that's excellent. Wow, wonderful.
It's so fun. You know, it's like I have my own studio now. I have a microphone. I had all that before, but now I feel like I'm at a real radio station right here at California State University, Long Beach. And Alfred and I were talking about you when he was on the show on 9/11. Did you get a chance to listen to the show with Alfred and I?
I have it saved. I've been all over the place, and but I definitely still plan on it.
Alfred came out as the judge. You know, he's like, well, I'm coming in as the judge today to make sure that everybody knows that we are going to move forward in prosecuting George Walker Bush Jr., Tony Blair, Dick Cheney, and Donald Rumsfeld for war crimes against humanity, which is something that we've been trying to, Alfred was the judge on the tribunal in Malaysia a couple of years back where they found them all guilty of war crimes. So he's going to be bringing that forth here towards the United States and Canada, and this is going to be a big thing.
Yeah, it's excellent.
We love Alfred.
Absolutely. Love Alfred.
So tell me what's been going on with you. It hasn't been long. I know you've been real busy, but why don't you give my listeners a little bit of a background on who you are? Of course, I introduced you as the great-granddaughter of our beloved President Dwight D. Eisenhower, but tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself.
Well, okay. I've had sort of a lifelong path. We all have, but I mean, when it comes to the work that I do today, I was pretty aware of a lot of it as a young child. I think we've been disconnected. Hello?
Hello, I'm here.
Okay, great.
Yep.
And, the awareness that I had a lot to do with the imbalance on our planet, the patriarchal agendas, and the different things that we can contend with more on a deeper soul level. And then as the years progressed and I started to really pay attention to, the fact that Eisenhower, is my great-grandfather, I started to really ask myself, well, what are you doing in this family? Like, there's a reason for this, and I knew that. Are you still there? I'm
here. Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, good. And so it just all started to make sense to me that there was some piece that needed to come forward that I would assist in bringing forward, along with many others, that would help us to crack open the limitations and the repression and the control agendas that seemed to be very obvious to me. I just didn't know the backstory as much as I know now. We can feel things and sense things, but then you start to learn about the technologies, the ET races involved, the galactic history,
right,
and the deeper layers of the military-industrial complex, which, of course, you warned us about. So my whole life has been about kind of connecting the dots on a very multidimensional level. What is it going to take for us on a soul level to achieve liberation? What is the real deal with God, goddess? What is this planetary body all about? And a lot of these questions my intuition knew the answers to, and then I just looked for outside information to validate some of those intuitive hits, and then learned a lot more along the way, which helped me to just kind of piece a lot of stuff together.
Well, and some people some of the students here have come up to me, and they knew that you were coming on the show, and they said Dwight D. Eisenhower, didn't he meet some extraterrestrials on a tarmac back in when he was a president? Can you validate this? Is this a truth?
Well, this is what's interesting. I mean, I could say black sheep of the family, whatever. I mean, I've been the out-of-the-box kid, the one that's been probing, asking questions, going through incredible experiences that forced me to, really dig deep. Right. And nobody in my family, and I have to say I'm really close to everybody. I spend, holidays still to this day with them. There's never any talk about extraterrestrials, UFOs, or any of the Eisenhower treaties, any of the rumors. A lot of it is really hard to bring out at some of these gatherings because it might be a funeral or something. You can't just really just all of a sudden present all this. I plan on engaging people more on these topics, but everything that I've discovered is through my own research and the recruitment in 2006 to go off planet, and just a lot of the stuff that I was aware of when I was a kid. And so to answer that question, I have no doubts that he met with extraterrestrials. I even just went to the premiere in LA of Stranger at the Pentagon, which is the story about valiant Thor and his crew from Venus that met with Eisenhower and Nixon, hoping to have his assistance in their mission, which he wanted to help them with. He put them on VIP status for 3 years, but the shadow government shut it down and vetoed the bill that he tried to pass. And then we have, of course, the Greys, the rumors we hear about in 1954, and the meeting with the Nordics.
Yep.
And so I've done an incredible amount of research, and I present a lot about it. And, of course, I quote a lot of whistleblowers because I wasn't there. I haven't had a conversation with Ike. I haven't had any family secrets given to me. But with whistleblower testimony and with really learning about our galactic history, it just makes a lot of sense. And that's pretty much where I'm at. I just expose it, but I tell people, take what resonates and leave the rest. It's important to just have an open mind and for us all to be a part of this discussion. And I just want to open up that door so that we can get some answers and know what we're up against.
Well, I believe I saw pictures of you at this LA premiere. What was this movie called again?
Stranger at the Pentagon.
Stranger at the Pentagon. And you didn't call me? I can't.
Oh my gosh. We actually almost weren't able to go. It was like the last minute and everything was really crazy around that time. I should have just grabbed you. My goodness. What was I thinking?
Didn't Tanya, is it Tonya? Tanya?
Tonya Maddenford?
Tonya Maddenford. Yeah. She's people that do not know, she's a director, correct? Yes?
Yeah. Yep, she was there. That was great to see her.
Yeah, I saw she sent me some pictures of this. So that was what it was. It was that premiere. Okay, that makes sense. And that was what, last month, maybe?
Yeah. So I mean, this is going to open up, I think, a lot for people. And what is wonderful about it is it says, it's based on true events. Most of the time, you can't even get away with saying something like that when it is dealing with government extraterrestrial topics.
Right. And speaking about extraterrestrial and government stuff, we touched a little bit on the Alfred Weber show about this project called Project Pegasus. And we described it, this time travel program, and we talked a little bit about Andrew Brazago and his affiliation with it. Can you tell my listeners a little bit, and we got about 4 minutes left in this until this break, but until we go into break, why don't you tell them a little bit about this Project Pegasus and how you were recruited into this, and we'll get a little bit more into that in the second half of the hour.
Sure. I was not directly recruited into Project Pegasus. I was pre-identified in Project Pegasus in 1972 before I was born. What I was recruited into was like a branch of MJ-12. They were the ones behind doing this. They are connected also to Project Pegasus, but it's compartmentalized. And they all know each other, but only a few know. The rest are kind of in the dark. And but it all connects. All these dots connect as far as what Andrew went through and what I was being brought into.
And can you tell my listeners kind of tell them a little bit how you were, how you were self-identified and what was the reason they identified you?
Well, that's kind of longer than a couple minutes, but there's something called Looking Glass Technologies. Looking Glass Technologies, they have their hands on it. They're quantum access technologies that can locate you in past lives. They can project into the future and sort of see, what the probabilities are. And because they're trying to construct artificial timelines, they can see how well they're doing in it. And they can see also what they are trying to move us away from, to siphon us into another agenda. And they targeted me based on past lives, based on, I think, my family connection, Eisenhower, right, and also the work I do here. I've been told numerous times that they wanted me to help them reseed a new civilization on Mars. Right. There's a lot more to it as to why I got out of it and how I woke up. Well, I was pretty privy to not going from the get-go, but there were some major insights I got along the way that really helped me to get out of it and stay here.
And you were involved in this jump room technology, which is also this Mars thing, correct?
Well, that was more Andrew. I was recruited to be a permanent colonist to go in 2012 in something called ARC, spelled A-R-C.
Right.
Andrew was a child participant in the teleportation program that was more about establishing, the Mars colony and sort of experimenting on kids to see how they could withstand it. I was recruited to be a permanent colonist to whatever they had been setting up.
Oh, interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, we're going to get deeper into this subject matter with Laura Eisenhower. So stick around, guys. We got a couple minutes before we get into the hour. So we'll be bringing Ben back. But I want to tell everybody out there, the Student Rec and Wellness Center, Meditation Mondays, starting every Monday right here at Cal State University. It's a perfect show with Laura on the show. We're having Meditation Mondays right here at the Cal State University Long Beach particular foyer or wherever out in the campus quad or whatever. So you guys could do that, do your little meditation and yoga or whatever you want to do. Got a lot of things going on here. Also, next week, I am going to have Joanne Kramer. She was an apostle. She is going to be joining me next week. And then the following week, we'll have Minister Kenneth Emmanuel from Sound Doctrine Spiritual Ministries now. And then we're going to be going and have Chuck Gollop. And Chuck is a former police gang task force of the Bloomington Police Department, and we're going to be talking in depth about the flip side of the police departments and how they have militarized, but yet, kind of the good side. And also, Chuck is a retired cop, so he's also a new comedian. So we're going to have some jokes and some good times with him. And then right at the Halloween, we are going up to Rob Zombie's American Halloween Terror, and we're going to be broadcasting live from that on October 30th. So that's going to be an incredible show. So you're going to want to stick in, and all you have to do to go and find out a little bit more about 32 Degrees of Insanity is go to www.32degreesofinsanity.com. You can listen to, you can see our calendars. That is our blog. You can read all about all the subject matter that we're talking about, and also the recent, even the recent blogs and the old blogs as well. So we'll be right back here on the Truth Frequency Radio Network, K-Beach, 88.1 FM HD3 on kbeach.org. We'll be right back.
Exposing faux capitalism with Jason Erb. Sundays on Truth Frequency Radio.
All right, guys, gals, we are back. It is 9:31 of the p.m. It is 10/2/2014. Ben, you got to turn off your mic, brother. You're like really, really loud, brother. Anyways, welcome back, Truth Frequency Radio Network. We are 32 Degrees of Insanity right here on the Truth Frequency Radio Network and kbeach.org. That's kbeach.org. 88.1 FM right here at California State University, Long Beach. Tonight, my special guest is Laura Eisenhower. Laura Eisenhower is the great-granddaughter of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Tonight, we're talking about the time travel programs. We're talking about the Mars jump room programs. We're talking about all kinds of stuff and even extraterrestrial intelligence. If you haven't listened to 32 Degrees of Insanity before, there is basically what my show is a conspiracy radio show. What I try to do is I try to bring some information, allow you to take that information, run with it, take what you'd like, and leave the rest. That's all we do. That's all we want you to do. But we're hoping that maybe we can educate you a little bit on understanding some things a little bit outside the box than normal. Could there be multidimensional states? Could there be possibilities of, aliens and UFOs and all those types of things? There is the possibility, and there is proof behind it. There is even proof dating all the way back in history to a little time in Samaria, where the Sumerian texts speak about a planet called Nibiru, where a bunch of people, a large, tall people called the Anunnaki, who also have some things to do with the Nephilim that are spoke about in the book of Enoch and also in Genesis in the Holy Bible. Tonight, we are going to talk with Laura Eisenhower in regards to Gaia, which is the word for the earth, the mother goddess, the other half of the source, you might be able to call it. This is, what we do to the earth is what we affect the earth in all aspects of our frequency. here on this planet, and that the Earth, the Gaia, the mother, is definitely the one in charge. But with that being said, I'm going to bring Laura back to the show. Laura, you there?
Yep. Hey there.
Did I say that okay?
Yeah, definitely.
We always have a great time talking. Because we both are pretty much, we think so much alike.
We do. We really do.
and it's so wonderful that you're out there in the field getting this stuff done. And talking about the Anunnaki, you even went to Adam's calendar, correct?
Yes, with Michael Tellinger back in 2011. It was amazing.
Can you tell my listening audience a little bit about the history of Adam's calendar and the Anunnaki?
Yeah, well, the Anunnaki, it's an interesting history. I mean, there's many factions. Some might always think that they're all negative, but that's not really the case. The Luciferian Anunnaki is one faction. And what's interesting is when you have that Luciferian Anunnaki, you also have the opposite of it, which is like the Yahweh type energy. And so you've got your law and order, and then you've got sort of your rebellion. And the two are like two sides of a coin, but they have, it's like the Enki and Enlil thing. That's exactly what it is. The Enki would be the more Luciferian, the Enlil, connected more to the Jehovah Yahweh. And then there was infiltration and all sorts of things, based on Eden and the reseeding of the human civilizations. Basically, it ended up in the dark hands and the dark factions of the Anunnaki that began to control long-term human evolution through elite groups, systems, and institutions. And basically, they are manipulating human consciousness. They have put frequency fences in our DNA. And even though even benevolent races agreed that we need to go through, a longer cycle in order to awaken and upgrade our DNA again after the major fall from the dimensions 4, 5, and 6 of the higher Earth energies of Lemuria, the original Lemurian Atlantis.
Yes.
They took advantage of this. The Anunnaki took advantage of this because we were vulnerable.
Let's stop right there and let's talk, because a lot of we have some new listeners here, and K Beach is kind of a different outlet for 32 Degrees of Insanity, and a lot of the student body that's listening to us tonight might not know what Lemuria and Atlantis. Well, I'm sure they might know what Atlantis is, but Lemuria, which I believe very connected to the Lemurians. Lemuria was kind of the artsy fartsy type of Atlantis, was it not?
Yeah, you can almost look at it like Lemuria and Atlantis are the right and left brain. And as the patriarchal forces got stronger on the Atlantean side, it sort of split the right and left brain. If we want to sort of relate it to ourselves, the two should be functioning together, similar to the masculine and feminine. There is a higher Lemuria and Atlantis. And then in this particular Earth creation, the Atlantean and Lemurian races were root races. And these root races are not the only root races. There's 7 root races, and that's different than the original template we had as much more upgraded beings in these higher realms. And so the Anunnaki came to this second creation that ended up being the result of the higher dimensions kind of collapsing and falling because of some of these galactic wars, and the free will energy of the universe basically sort of leads to some of these scenarios of being in competition with Source, I guess you could say, in just our own natural, organic process of learning to relate to one another. And so when the Anunnaki, showed up, basically Nibiru supposedly is a chunk of Maldek, which is now an exploded planet, which makes up our asteroid belt. Nibiru is a chunk of that, and that's where the negative faction of the Anunnaki supposedly occupy.
Right.
And they are really one of the controller groups, not the only controller group we're dealing with. And I know it's like really difficult when you hear about this for the first time. It's like, wait a second,
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, we learned about dinosaurs, though, in elementary school, and that's pretty wild. So we got to figure, this isn't that far-fetched. We just have to accept that we just were never taught.
Right, and that's we all know that I'm a big researcher in Nibiru and Planet X and all of this, and they understand. And Alfred and I came out with the Zachariah Sitchin, the hoax and the psychological operation of Zachariah Sitchin and his works with the Pentagon and the CIA and all of that. But yet the Sumerian story of Nibiru is definitely for real. And we don't know. We're still. I'm kind of an advocate of thinking that Nibiru might have been destroyed on 2012 through frequency vibration. However, there is some evidence to say that this particular Planet X is still out there. Do you agree with that?
Well, I'm kind of where you are. I'm a little bit on the fence. I
Yeah.
try and study as much as possible. I'm so glad you and Alfred did that and
Yeah.
called out a lot of those deceptions.
Mm-hmm.
I still keep a very open mind to a lot of the information I put out there because that's really the only thing we can do, because it's trying to put the pieces together with a lot of distortions out there already. But I really feel that on some level Nibiru's been majorly compromised. It's
Yeah.
either been blown apart and it's not what it was, or it's not even there at all.
Well, here's the thing, and I came out with back on Truth Frequency back in 2012 when December 21st came around for the end of the Mayan calendar. I said, because there was a big object coming through Soho. We saw it in the end of November. It was a very large object coming through in Soho. If you're not familiar with what Soho is, that's the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. They have these satellites that are circling the sun. And I was looking at this, and I was doing a video, and I said, you know what? From all of the experience and all of the things that we had done, we were able to track other things. And I said, I guarantee you, this thing is going to show up in about 21 days. And then, weirdly enough, on December 21st, this particular explosion happened over San Francisco, over the Sacramento Bay Area. And I looked at this thing, and it looked like, remember the Alderaan destroyed, in the movie Star Wars? I was like, oh my God, did we just get video footage of the dimensional shift in this timeline?
Wow.
That was Nibiru that we saw, because everyone's, oh, it's a weather balloon or da-da-da. No, this thing looked like a planet destroyed. And this made me think of the collective unconsciousness, even how powerful that is. And we think we're so, us as human beings, we think that, okay, we are the benevolent race, da-da-da-da. But we have to think outside the box, that we are just part of the grander scheme of things. And if everything is a collective unconsciousness, and we have more good than evil, it makes perfect sense that we saw a dimensional shift, and boom, Nibiru was compromised.
Nice.
That's, and I try to believe that, because I don't want this negative energy. And Alfred and I talk about this positive timeline, and we've been talking about this positive timeline since 2007.
Yeah.
And they try their hardest. They try their hardest to do whatever they do, but they're not successful.
Yeah, they're not, because that timeline exists within us. You can't take that away, because it's ingrained in us to manifest this. This is why the power of our thoughts and our actions, our words, and the way we conduct ourselves is so crucial. Because we have to figure, if there's mind control targeting, they want to take that part of ourselves and steer it in a different direction. If we reclaim that part of ourselves and we are allowed to just think again for ourselves, we actually can manifest what's within us instead of what's being thrown at us, all the propaganda, all the programmings, all the conditionings, and all the fear stuff.
Yeah, this fear mongering. It's fear porn. And that's kind of been the underlining statement of 32 Degrees from Insanity from the very get-go. When I first saw Alfred on top of Mount Adams, and he said, in 2007, he said, we are heading down this positive timeline. We just need to wake others up to agree with that, and we'll be good. And David and Ben Fulford, they definitely have talked about, the destruction of the reptilians and all of that. I'm on the fence a little bit about that whole thing, but these are, and I'm talking about David Wilcock, and of course Carrie Cassidy of Project Camelot has brought forth some interesting information, I think we, as a group, and I don't know if you want to call us truth seekers or the truth movement or investigators into this, but I think it's through our work. We have helped a lot of people raise this vibration up to where we're at right now. And you know what? I think I think the source really made sure that we were able to do these things.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. It's almost like, even if for some of us we tried to take on a different path, there were greater forces out there that said, I don't think so. This is what you're here to do. And yeah. I mean, for me, it felt life and death. If I wasn't going to do this, it was like I was going to die. Like my body was going to shut down. So, it's like, this is actually what's keeping me alive. And, I have no fear about death. And that's why it's easy to dismiss the fear. It's a great tool, though, to catalyze what really is benefiting us, what we have within us that can counteract it. So that awareness is important, but not owning it, not letting it take away what is our God-given right to express and to manifest. And it's amazing. And so we just have to get as many on board as possible. And the thing is, unity is diversity in harmony. You know, we all have different expressions, but there is a common thread there which connects us all on a spirit level. And we're, you know, a web of life within ourselves on a soul level. This is why so many synchronicities bring us all together, and we're all sharing such a similar message.
Well,
it's awesome.
I said something, and you know, the Christian Bible talks about the rapture, and I believe, this is my belief, I believe that the rapture is, you know, it talks about people getting caught up. I think we're being raptured together right now. That these, you know, that the source wants to bring us all together so that we can create this positiveness, this utopia here, or heaven on earth.
Absolutely. I mean, ascension isn't about floating away. I mean, the core of this planet is a 13-dimensional core. This is an ascension planet. It's a multidimensional planet. And it's us that needs to wake up to this so that we can experience her higher, more expansive energies, which are available. But we can't do that if we're limited and we allow ourselves to stay shut down and just connected to this artificial matrix, which is designed to do that. Mm-hmm. I totally agree. We are the rapture. I mean, we can feel the energy when connections are positive and harmonious. It feels like bliss in the body. There's joy, there's happiness.
Yeah.
When there's conflict and when there's ego battles, it gets constricting, it gets painful. So, I mean, we can tell what energy works and what doesn't. We just have to be committed to the path that helps us to expand, feel healthy, feel blissful, and feel positive, and to not judge our experiences so much, because life gives us exactly what we need to stay on track, whether it's something like of a crisis or something dramatic to something that feels like it's going our way. It all is there to serve us. We're just so used to having judgments about it based on what the expectations of society have presented to us and how our parents were. Right. And we got to just accept that we're getting exactly what we need. And
I'm so glad you said that. I say this to all my family members, everybody. I say, you know what? You might not have everything that you want, but God gives you everything that you need.
Yeah. And all the experiences that we need. I mean, adversity is one of the greatest blessings. If a person can find the wisdom and can find the breakthroughs and can find, you know, the transformation that's available, you know, and that's why it happens. But we're so taught to give our power away and run to somebody else. And sometimes we do need to, but as long as we can check back with the self, we can be a huge part of our healing process.
Oh, you know, and that's what we need to do. And even the young generation now, and you know, now I have, you know, as a radio personality here at K Beach and as a representative of California State University Long Beach, you know, I want that, you know, these younger students to understand that there is a positive future ahead of us, and don't let things get you down. You know, keep trucking away. We're going to get there. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen next week, but we have come so far over the last 10 years. It's
been amazing. I mean, this is just, I mean, it's a completely like drastic shift from what I remember, you know, 10 years before that. The energy is completely different. It's just, there's so many more like-minded people to connect with. There's real conversations happening now. It's not just the facade and just people playing out the programmings. I mean, so much has been busted through. People who are feeling alone, guess what? You're not alone anymore. I mean, it's just, the internet's been an amazing gift, and it's like a launching pad. As long as we don't get sucked into being dumbed down by technology, and we can use it as a launching pad to tap into our higher abilities, you know, we are really unifying as a human race.
Well, the way I look at it, I mean, look, you know, you and I met via the internet. You know, Alfred and I met via the internet. You know, these things wouldn't have happened if we didn't have this beautiful thing that we call the internet.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have any friends. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'm like, do I have a virtual family? What's going on here? You know, because you and I have never met in person, but yet I feel you're like my sister.
Oh, I know. Like, you couldn't be more familiar, and I couldn't be more comfortable being on this show. So,
you know, and we always have fun. And you've been with me for we're working on now almost 3 years.
Yeah.
That you and I have been doing shows together, and you know, and we had Leo Zagami on last week, and that was, you know, Leo. I don't know if I told you or if you knew, but Leo Zagami moved down here to Long Beach for a while, and
oh wow,
he got married. here. And the reason why they came to Long Beach was I get this call from his fiance in Italy saying, Donnie, we're thinking about coming to the United States. Where would be a good place to live? And I'm like, well, duh, Long Beach, I'm here. So they ended up moving down here, and they were here for like almost 4 months. To me, because when I met Leo, I had some, conceptions, the things that have happened, with his last stay here in the United States, and some things with Carrie Cassidy and some other things that, that he had kind of a negative connotation about coming to the United States, but he wanted to redo it, and he wanted to come here, and I wanted him to feel like, he had a Masonic brother here and feel safe. And when he got here, all my misconceptions of Leo, and I've known Leo and I've had him on the show for the last 3 or 4 years, just like you. And it was just amazing to see him and meet him in person. It was like meeting my brother, that I hadn't seen in like 30 years. And I'm like, and I would feel the same with you once we see each other. And so what's so funny, we live in Southern California together.
I think we're going to make this happen. I think
we are. Well,
yeah.
We were talking, and we got about 7 minutes till the end of the hour. We were talking, you and I, about possibly putting together some sort of event here at California State University where we could get you involved, Alfred, Carrie Cassidy, Leo, all of us involved in bringing and presenting this sort of information and this evidence that we have to the masses, and I think it would be an incredible opportunity because I think that's what lacks in the educational system right now.
Oh, that would be amazing. I would love that. Yeah.
It would absolutely be. And I feel so blessed that we have the California State University system is allowing my show. And we talk about some pretty deep subject matter that, a lot of professors and a lot of psychologists and a lot of administration might look as almost pseudoscience.
Yeah, I can't imagine hearing this stuff for the first time. I'm so used to it that sometimes I forget that, wow, somebody listening to this for the first time, it's like...
It's a little overwhelming. Well, we have been doing it for so long, and it just comes second nature to us when we talk about it. And, I have to, even when I was preparing for the show tonight, I'm like, I got to kind of bring me and Laura back to basics, and so that we can kind of tell everybody where we kind of began in this. And, you being the great-granddaughter of this president that warned us of the military-industrial complex is just absolutely, and your work has inspired me for years.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, you just, I was talking to my roommate the other day, and I'm like, yeah. I'm having Laura Eisenhower on the show, yeah, and I was like, she's like my sister. And I know a lot of your listeners are listening in tonight, and I want to thank them for joining us in tonight. I went on one of my Facebook pages today, and there was like 22 shares from all of your friends on your side, and I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Oh, that's good.
So the word has gotten out that Donnie and Laura are doing another show together.
Yay!
So we got about 5 minutes till we get into the show. So let's kind of plan what we're going to talk about in the. What do you want to talk about in the? Do we want to talk about something current? Do we want to talk about what you're doing right now at the top of the hour?
Well, I'd love to talk a little bit about Captain K and how life has shifted since he came into my life and into sort of more of the public eye.
Your fiance, correct?
No. This is somebody under legal authority to disclose a lot of the stuff connected to Mars. He actually served on Mars for 17 years.
Oh my God!
So I've got some very interesting information to share about him, and then we can talk a little bit about maybe some of the ET races connected to the military-industrial complex and what it's looking like today. Would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely phenomenal. And let's just talk a little personal thing. Do you have a new man in your life, a new guy?
No, I've been with Dr. Dream for about 3 years.
Dr. Dream, that's his
I know, it's like Captain K, Dr. Dream. It's like the people in my lives are like off cereal boxes. Well, Dr. Dreams even that's like psychedelic, but
I remember Ken Case. I think of the old Grateful Dead. I was at this little watering hole the other night, and they were playing Grateful Dead all night, and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm back in my element.
Right. Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's definitely that home feeling.
Well, you were talking a little bit about Enki. And I wanted to touch a little bit about that because Chris Geo, the owner of Truth Frequency Radio out in Denver, Chris and Cherie do DMT a lot.
Right.
And Chris did this particular night where he was having this DMT experience, and he had to get online, and he started writing this full-out, detailed trip that he was on. And he said that he met Enki.
Right. Nice.
Crazy. He's like, yeah, I met the Luciferian side. It didn't seem too bad, and I'm not, an advocate of, I'm a neutral. I'm what's above, so below. I kind of sit right on the, because we all have that dark side.
Exactly. I'm so glad you're saying that, because to me, it's not about choosing sides. It's about integration, wholeness, and recognizing that these archetypes are a part of us.
They are. And these archons, that's what I did a whole show on these archons. And if you don't feed the archons, which are these bottom dwellers, dimensional bottom dwellers, I like to call them, if you don't feed them, they just go away.
They really do. And they like to exacerbate a lot of stuff within us, because we kind of open up our field to them when we start to get unbalanced and we start to relate on a much, lower level.
Yep.
They love that. When we fall out of integrity and we fall out of balance and we go into fear, they're like, thank you for the food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, we can open the portal to connect with higher angelical, beings and higher dimensional beings. It's really our choice.
Well, and even the Mormons have talked about this. I watched this, and we got a couple of minutes before we go into break here. But just a little quick thing. We'll talk about it at the top of the hour, guys. But the Mormons did this really funny video. It was like kids' recruitment video. But it talked about Elohim and the fight between Jesus and Lucifer, and that Jesus went down because Elohim felt that Jesus was much better and wasn't hot-headed, and that he could go down and hang out with the people down on the earth, and that Lucifer was a little bit more hot-headed, and that he had to kind of kick back, and he got pissed. Right? He played his little temper tantrum, and that's us as, our inner childs. We all have that.
I'm so glad you're saying this. I never hear people talk about this enough, and I speak about this all the time, just how we're made of this stuff. This is not so far removed from us. I mean, it's the negative ego that's learning to align with, a higher consciousness that creates this incredible alchemy and transformation, but all parts are included. All parts are a part of it.
It is. It's absolutely phenomenal. So we're going to go into break, guys. We are 32 Degrees of Insanity right here on K-Beach Radio and Truth Frequency. You can listen to me every Thursday night on the Truth Frequency Radio Network. We also have a wonderful amount of different programming on the Truth Frequency Radio Network, including Chris Geo's show. We have Ken Baker. We have Popeye. Popeye Jack. You got to listen to Popeye Jack. That's federaljack.com. Some very interesting stuff on that. And Popeye is right before me on the Truth Frequency Radio Network at truthfrequencyradio.com. You can also join us here on K-Beach following my show tonight. We will have the Sex at the Beach and with Chantel, and she will be doing I'm not sure what the subject matter is for her show tonight, but I see her over with Trey, our general manager, who we had on a few weeks ago as well here at K-Beach, and that was a phenomenal show that Trey and I did as well. So you're going to want to stick around, because we're going to be getting into some serious extraterrestrial type of talk at the top of the hour. So stick around here at 32 Degrees of Insanity, www.32degrees of Insanity. You can also find us on Spreaker at www.spreaker.com/user/the message. Stick around here. It is 9:57, 10/2/2014 on 32 Degrees of Insanity. Yeah, Laura?
Yep.
We're going in break. This is great.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
We are TFR. Frequency Radio.
He's a real nowhere man, sitting in his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans for nobody. Doesn't have a point of view, knows not where he's going to. Isn't he a bit like you and me? Nowhere man, please listen. You don't know, don't listen. Nowhere man, the world is that your man.
All right, guys and gals, we are back. It is 10:01 of the PM, 10/2/2014. Gosh, I can't believe it is already October. Arrgh! That was kind of funny. Anyways, we are K-Beach Radio. It is kbeach.org and K-Beach FM, 88.1 FM, KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. And we are also simulcasting right on the Truth Frequency Radio Network. That's www.truthfrequencyradio.com, or you can just find us right here at kbeach, kbeach.org, www.kbeach.org. And all you want to do to learn about 32 Degrees of Insanity, real simple. Go to kbeach.org, go to talk shows, find 32 Degrees of Insanity, scan on down to that, click on the little toolbar there, and boom, binga, you will see my little cosmic friend waving to you with his little cape and the 32 Degrees of Insanity logo. And you can also find me on Facebook too. And so all of the links to all of my the Spreaker channel, the Facebook channel, our like page, our website, all of that is right there on the About page on kbeach.org. And also you can find it over at www.truthfrequencyradio.com. You can also subscribe to truthfrequencyradio.com. I think it's like $4 a month. To subscribe, to listen to all of the archives. You would have unlimited, high-definition archives of all the shows, all the wonderful shows that we have on here, including the Sound Doctrine Spiritual Ministries with Minister Kenneth Emmanuel. And he will be joining me a couple weeks from today. And I am really excited. Minister Kenneth Emmanuel has been my dear brother in Christ for a long time. And we will be talking about the Bible. We'll be getting a little bit into Revelation. And we will be talking some serious stuff. So this is going to be a great show. You're not going to want to miss that, because when Kenneth and I get together, it is all about the Lord. So we'll be having some fun. So all our Christian listeners out there, definitely tune in. It's not your regular type of ministry. It's not your regular Christian type of thought process. It is our thought process. It is the way that we, as Christian ministers, I guess you could say, the way that we look at it. We believe that everybody has their path and everybody has their guide to wherever they're wanting to go. Mine happens to be the Lord Jesus Christ. I don't know who yours is. Maybe it's Buddha. I really don't care. And if he's your friend, that's all that matters to me. And, so that's why we get into this. And that's why it was called Sound Doctrine Christian Ministries. But now he has changed that to Sound Doctrine Spiritual Ministries, because this is really important, because we want to, everybody has their ascension or their ways to tap into Gaia or tap into the source or tap into whatever they want to do. And as a Mason, guys, I believe in that, everybody has their own route. I don't know if it's the best route, some might go this way, some might go that way, but everybody has their path. And it's not for me to tell you what your path is, because you have to go with what your path is inside. And with that being said, I'm going to bring my dear path friend, Laura Eisenhower, back to the show. Laura Eisenhower has been with me for the last hour or so. If you're just joining us, she is the great-granddaughter of our beloved president, Dwight D. Eisenhower. And tonight we're going to get into this next hour, we're going to get into some really good stuff. So I'm going to let Laura take the helm here. Welcome back to the show, Laura.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Where should we start? Where should we start?
Okay, well, I got the helm here. All right. The wind's blowing.
I gave you the steering wheel.
Oh, well, I was thinking, for people who have never heard about Captain K, this is a really important person to look up in Google because this is pretty huge. It's a big breakthrough that he has come forward. Basically, he is a part of something that Eisenhower set up in late 1953. He signed into law under secret executive order something called the USMC Special Section. And basically, Captain K said to me, and his real name he's now disclosed as Randy Kramer, so I can actually use a name now. Basically, Eisenhower set this up to keep the MJ-12 boys in check because basically MJ-12 got their hands on all the alien technology, all the different treaties that have happened, which actually started with, Hitler, Roosevelt, and,